I went out for a walk. I didn't have much of a choice because one of my kids continues to forget we're on a different time zone, so she woke me up at 5. And so I said, I may as well get up and walk. She said, yeah, Mom, you need to do that. I said, you're just saying that because you woke me up. But I just wanted to say how wonderful and how nice it is to be in the environment that we're in. Sun River is a beautiful place, and when we all come together with shared values and we have time to spend with each other, that makes the atmosphere even greater. But it was nice to have a morning walk. I rarely do that because I'm a busybody, not nosy busybody, but working busybody. And so I normally don't take the time to do that. And if I were not at Sun River, I probably would not have done that this morning. So it's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be with Democrats. And it's great to know, at least I think we know this, that you took the time to be here this weekend. For many of you, I'm going to be very candid, not all of us, but for some of us, it takes a lot of time, it takes energy. Candidly speaking, it takes money. It takes a lot of effort to get here from Friday to Sunday, or whatever amount of time you spend. So thank you very much. I honor you, I honor your time, and I'm very grateful to you. So, I'm excited. We've had so many updates this weekend, which is part of the effort or the goal of the summit, that you come here and you go back home and you take a lot with you. We had a just outstanding update with our statewide electeds, with our Attorney General. I know I saw Ellen earlier, with our secretaries. Not Secretary of State, not this time, but we had our Attorney General, we had our Treasurer, and we had our Governor. That was really great. So we had all of our electeds with us, our Bureau of Labor and Industries Commissioner. So we've got a lot of information to take back home, and one of the things I'd like to ask all of you is when you go back to your home space, whether that's a county party, a caucus, wherever you're going back to, we at the DPO would be very grateful if that information goes back to the space that you're returning to. Outstanding congressional update, so grateful for that. And this morning, we're going to have a legislative update, and for many of us, that's even closer to home when we get to hear from our Speaker and President of the Senate. So all those things are meant to you give us a lot by being here, and we want to give a lot back to you that you take home with you. Energized, inspired, encouraged, and a whole lot more knowledgeable. I can certainly say that I am. So again, good morning. I'm going to ask, I think it's Matt and Kim, to come to the stage. These are my colleagues, and they're great folks to work with. So thank you, Matt, and thank you, Kim. Matt is our DNC rep. He's a Eugene City Councilor. Kim is our vice chair. She has turned into, she's working me. Kim, you're working me. She's turned into a rural expert. And so she helps me with that, and we get to help each other. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosa. Good morning. I had just settled in with a whole bunch of food in my mouth, and she said my name, and I'm like, oh, I have a page here. So I would like to take one more time to thank our generous sponsors. This would not exist without you, so thank each and every one of you, and our donors for this weekend and all the work that you do. You make this possible. Could we please give them a final round of applause? Thank you.
Before I dive into our Platinum Gold Premier sponsors, I'll be brief. I want to recommend that just behind Majority Leader Fahey, the Fireplace of Fireplace, if you need to warm those bones, it is bliss to stand in front of that fireplace and look at the love in the room and look at our Democratic
Now I know the
family.
was happening this morning. I
Boom,
did not know what you were
got to go to the fireplace. Premier sponsors, U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, UFCW Local 555, Oregon Ranked Choice Voting. Thank you. Platinum sponsors Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians, IBEW Local 48, U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, Governor Tina Kotek, California Governor Gavin Newsom, OFNHP, OEA, Oregon Education Association, SEIU Local 49, Espousal Strategies, King Estate Winery, Morel Inc., NGP Van, New Sun Energy, Target Smart, Pac West Lobby Group. Thank you. Our gold group. It's like a Star Wars reference.
That is a Star Wars reference.
All right, gold leader, you ready?
I'm ready.
Congressman Earl Blumenauer, Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, Congresswoman Val Hoyle, Congresswoman Andrea Salinas, Treasurer Tobias Reed, Senate President Rob Wagner, State Senator Lou Frederick, State Senator James I. Manning Jr., State Senator Elizabeth Steiner, House Speaker Dan Rayfield, future Treasurer. Act Blue, Blue States PAC delivers, oh, did I say future Treasurer? Where are you, Speaker? Future AG, my apologies. Act Blue, Blue States PAC, Deliver Strategies, Elevated Campaigns, Future PAC, OPAD Consulting, SDLF, Stones Phones, and Winning Mark. Thank you. And finally, and I'm only on one cup of coffee, Kim, our silver sponsors, Labor Commissioner Christina Stevenson, State Majority Leader Kate Lieber, State Representative Ben Bowman, State Representative Rob Nose, Metro President Lynn Peterson, Oregon State Building and Construction Trades Council, Ironworkers, Local 29, Joint Council of Teamsters, 37, Northwest Oregon Labor Council, AFL-CIO, SMART Transportation Division, Barnett Strategies, Bright Blue Inc., Empirical Media, Oregon Wild, The Pivot Group, Stewart Collective, and Winning Connections. Thank you, thank you, thank you, sponsors. And I also want to give one more shout out and underscore our deep gratitude to our volunteers who poured the energy into making sure things run smoothly this weekend. Thank you to volunteers who have donated their time. And so gratitude, and thank you. And give it up for the workers here at Sun River who have been great. The food is awesome. The service is stellar. And you always welcome us into your home and your hearts. Thank you, the workforce. Thank you.
Thank you. I got one more thing. And now I'm going to welcome to the stage our colleague, DNC member and state representative Travis Nelson. If you're not awake, he will get you awake. Here it comes.
Good morning, Democrats. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So I'm State Representative Travis Nelson. I'm also DPO officer, Democratic National Committeeman. Pronouns are he, him, his. I am a registered nurse, but I also work as a union rep in my day job. Over the last year, our country and state has seen a remarkable resurgence of the labor movement, particularly in healthcare. After being called heroes by their employers since the start of the pandemic, often with little to no increase in compensation, healthcare workers are tired. Tired of being taken for granted, tired of working 12-hour shift after 12-hour shift, tired of seeing traveling staff being brought in to make 2 to 3 times what they make working right beside them, and tired of poor working conditions. Things have come to a head. We've seen SEIU and UFCW workers strike at Kaiser, the Oregon Nurses Association strike at Providence in Portland, and dozens of other labor actions by fed-up workers. Shauna Ross is a leader in the Oregon Federation of Nurses and Healthcare Professionals, also known as the OFNHP. She's going to take a couple of moments to tell you all about their struggle and their upcoming strike at Peace Health Southwest in the Portland metro area. Shauna?
Thank you. For those who don't know what Peace Health Southwest is, it's the biggest trauma 2-level center in Southwest Washington. We get patients from Olympia and all the way from Skyline in Eastern Washington. We have been at the bargaining table. I'm the chair of the tech bargaining unit. I've been at the bargaining table since June 1st. I've had 15 bargaining sessions. So far, Peace Health has refused to faithfully bargain with us and offer us a compensation package that we feel is equivalent. I have positions in my hospital. I have the X-ray technology department, the X-ray department, which is part of my imaging department. We have 30 FTEs. We have 15 travelers. I have 13 employees. We can't get Peace Health to welcome us, to get us up to where we can get people come in. I've got people saying all the time, I'd love to work for you guys, with you guys, because you're a great group of people, but I can't work for what they're paying. I have 127 pay grades within the 2 bargaining units that are striking on Monday that are below $23 an hour, which Kaiser just settled. So I'm here today to ask for your support. Less than 24 hours from now, we will be on the strike line at 6:30 a.m. in front of Peace Health on Mill Plain. 1,300 employees. Peace Health has threatened us, intimidated us, threatened to fire us, called this strike illegal. They're playing every game in the book, and so what we're making for is an appeal today, and I already talked to Brad, so this has all been approved. We have a GoFundMe page. Of the 1,300 employees out on strike, I would say at least 900 of them are minimum wage workers. McDonald's pays better. So we're going to be passing these out. If you want more to pass around at work or whatever, we're going to ask if you guys could please donate to help our workers. This is our hardship fund, because these people, 1 week of pay for these people can mean the difference between having a roof over their heads and food on their table and in their car. So thank you very much for hearing us out. Come out and stand with us on the strike line. You can't miss us. We're in red. And we hope to see you there. And thank you, Travis, and thank you, the Democratic Party, for letting me speak.
Thank you so much, Shauna. Yes, the Oregon Federation of Nurses and Healthcare Professionals will be on the picket line at Peace Health Southwest in Vancouver, starting 6:30 in the morning tomorrow.
Oh, Travis, I forgot. And St. John's up in Longview, our 18-member lateral unit will also be on the strike line. So if you really want to go to Longview, they can go to
Thank you, Shauna. So, anybody in here watch RuPaul's Drag Race? Raise your hand if you watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Well, it's one of my favorite shows. The next person that I'm introducing isn't a drag queen, but if he were, I have zero doubt that he would win the contest to be America's next drag superstar. He has an abundance of the qualities that RuPaul looks for in a drag queen. Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, baby. I didn't know Dan Rayfield well at all before I joined the legislature. But I'm proud to now call him a friend. During the longest legislative walkout in history, Speaker Rayfield was steadfast and never wavered. When he and leadership finally worked out a deal to get the R's back in the building, the House was ready. Actually, we'd been ready. And he did everything that it took to get the people's work done, including historic accomplishments like the best healthcare worker staffing bill in the nation, and House Bill 2002, which made Oregon the best state in the country on abortion and gender-affirming care. I could go on and on and on about Dan's accomplishments, but I will stop. Everybody, please welcome Speaker Dan Rayfield. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
That was the best introduction ever, dude. Thanks, Dan.
That was unquestionably the best introduction I have ever had in my entire life. Most people just take the cut and paste off of a website and introduce me. That was truly amazing, Travis. Thank you so much. I wanted to start this morning by just thanking Brad Martin for getting us up here this morning. The Senate President and I, we were trying to get him to lock us into the 6:30 a.m. speaking slot, but Brad says, no, you're going to be at 8. So one of the things, as I was looking around, the Senate President was actually going through his notes right now, and he was trying to track down all of the senators, and there was one thing that I noticed, and I want to talk a little bit about numbers today. That's what you want to talk about on a Sunday morning, numbers, but we're going to do it. And I looked around, and I believe that there are about 7 state senators here. There are about 6 House members. So 7, 6. We have 35 House Democrats, okay, and we have 16 state senators, right? So when you do the numbers per capita, you know who parties harder in the Oregon legislature. So just want to make sure that people understand where the real numbers are here. Getting back to numbers, I want to talk to you a little bit about a few that I wrote down. 181, 903, 859, 509, and 617. Before we talk a little bit about those, I want to take you back a little over a year ago. What was going on? We were in the middle of the 2022 election cycle. The Oregon House has a leadership team that is voted on by the members, and they are responsible for the elections. It was a little more than a year ago in September where we met in Salem to talk about the elections, some of our targeted races. And that's what we do. We gather together. All of us as a team, as Oregon House Democrats, we work to fundraise to elect Democrats, and then we have to sit down together to then look at the various races and decide where and what and who can we invest in. It's a very sobering experience, and last year was more sobering than ever. Because if you all remember, the talk last year was a Republican wave. And so you had a majority leader, a speaker, and an entire leadership team that was extremely stressed out in that meeting. And we started going through our candidates, who were amazing. They always are. And we started going through our budget. And it was very real in that moment where we realized, even though we had raised just as much as other cycles, we did not have the amount of money to support all of our candidates. And these were candidates that we knew that if we had funded them, if we had people on the ground, we would have won those seats. And it was a very difficult conversation. Nobody left that building in Salem feeling good, because we had conversations where it was like, we have to choose between people. That was a real conversations that went on. It did not feel good. In that room, we were unwilling to accept that. And we said, even though we've raised just as much as prior cycles, we said we have to somehow find a way and raise more money. And that was what the commitment of our leadership team was that day. But we didn't really know. It's not like we walked out of that room knowing how we were going to find that money, find that energy to commit to those candidates who we believed we could win. And so the cycle kept going. And what happened? National money started coming in to the Republicans. And this was one of the first cycles that we saw national legislative money, groups that are focused on obtaining majorities in state legislatures, start flooding Oregon with money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in the Senate and in the House. That didn't make us feel any better. We then started seeing spending in races where we didn't think that we were necessarily going to want to spend in. So you think about Courtney Neron, Representative Neron. You think about Representative Lively. We then started getting polls back as House Democrats that showed some of our incumbents tied, some of them behind. So the budgets that we had exactly a year ago had to shift. We had to reinvest. And when you have a budget and you have new expenditures in other races that you weren't going to spend in, you have to pull your resources from places. And our leadership team sat there and we said, this isn't going to work. We need to find a way to raise more money to fund for these seats. Now, the interesting thing is nationally, a lot of those Republican groups that were flooding money into this state, they believed there was an opportunity. On our side, those same groups didn't really think that Oregon was, in threat of losing their majorities. So the majority leader and myself had to convince the national groups that this really was important, that they needed to invest because the majorities in Oregon matter for all of the collective values that we have here in this room. And it was stressful. And I remember one specific day where we all of a sudden saw these massive buys in Representative Neron's district, and that meant that we were going to have to cut 2 races off. And the majority leader, and I would also give a big shout out to Dan Torres, who now is at the Labor Candidate School. He worked extremely hard. Very rarely does Dan get applause, so he's not here. He's at home, so I will make sure that he knows that people clap for him. He's a good friend, by the way. So in that space, the 3 of us, specifically Future PAC, worked nationally to get money. And within 24 hours, we were able to bring hundreds of thousands of dollars that were able to keep us up in Courtney Neron's race, put us up in John Lively's race, and fund the 2 races that we didn't know if we were going to have money to fund. Now, I will say, historically, Future PAC raised more money last cycle than they ever have. Good job. But there were still races we could have won last cycle. So on election night, the majority leader and I don't know if you remember this, Julie, we were upstairs in some what we call a war room, which is really just a hotel room. It's not that glamorous. And we're all hunkered down there. None of us are drinking at this point, okay? And we sit in there, and the results start to come back. And they weren't great, the first results. I don't know if you remember this, Julie. It was, looking at those races, it was like, holy moly, this is going to be closer than we thought, even though we knew where things were. And if you remember that night, there were people saying, hey, do the House Democrats want to come down and speak? And we kept saying no. We want to wait for the next returns. And we waited for the next returns, and we were not confident, because I wanted to come down to tell all of you we're coming back with a majority. That's what I wanted to do. But I couldn't do that. The second returns came back, and we got a little bit more information. And there were folks on our team that said, hey, Dan and Julie, don't go down there and say that you're going to have a majority yet. Be patient a little bit. And Julie and I said, no, we feel very good with where the numbers are trending. We didn't know what that majority was going to be. And we went back and we came down and told everybody that we were going to be in a majority. That week prior, we scheduled a caucus meeting. And as some of the House Democrats might remember that. And the messaging was, we don't know what we're going to be at. We could be at 31. We could be at 32. We have no idea. It was that close. So the numbers that I mentioned, 181, 903, 859, 617, 509. Those are 5 House seats. We would be tied, thousands of votes away from a tied legislature. That should resonate with all of us, but it also should be, while it can be very sobering to talk about those numbers, let's talk about why those numbers are there. When you have 181 votes, and you have this entire room doing one volunteer shift of 50 doors, that's what wins that race. And that's what Democrats are good at, is communicating one-on-one with people. And that's what Democrats did last cycle to win. It wasn't pretty, but we did it. And then what happens because of that? Now, I also want to mention this number, 15,121. Does anybody know what that is? That was my vote margin. But let's get back to the sobering stuff here. What did we do in this legislature? How many votes were we away? What did we do in this legislature? You heard Representative Nelson talk about it. Landmark reproductive health bill. We passed bills focusing on gun violence prevention. In 2022 and 2023 were the first 2 sessions that Oregon institutionalized a climate budget. Never before had that been done. Ways that are going to reduce our carbon footprint, and we put our money where our mouth is with our budget. We had investments in housing and homelessness within the first 60 days. That had never been done before. We had investments in the semiconductor industry that is going to put working family jobs into the state 10, 20, 30 years down the road. They were monumental things, and you can better believe that those things do not happen if we do not have majorities. So that brings us to what we're going to do next session. I'll let the amazing Senate President, we trauma bonded a lot during this last session over the walkout. I think that's safe to say. But coming into this next session, I think there is a lot of unanimity in where we're focused. And it will be on housing and homelessness. It will be on the addiction crisis that is gripping every community across this state. And we will continue to focus on those things. And I will say that I think there is unanimity between Republicans and Democrats. We have different ways that we want to solve these things. But we as the legislature will come together and we will do those things in the upcoming session. And then all of us must pivot to the future. And this election cycle is going to be no different. I hope it's a blue wave. But we can't count on that. And we're going to need everybody's help. And it's early in the morning. And I expect all of you are the best stalwarts when it comes to volunteering and talking to folks, and we're going to need your help continually. Because if we want to put in all of the things, the values that excite us, the things we talked about this weekend, the only way that we do any of that is a part of our collective team as Democrats working hard, talking to our friends and family. And if you go out to do a volunteer shift, bring a friend. That's how you win these races. Again, 181 votes, 903 votes. 859 votes, 617 votes, and 509 votes. Now, here's the opportunity. We lost 2 races. Those votes, 542 votes, 844 votes. It swings both ways, and with your help, I'd like to pick up those next 2 seats.
So our Senate President, Rob Wagner's had a busy couple of weeks, and we haven't been, we had a hard time connecting about talking points for this introduction. And so I said to him, that's okay, I can riff. And so his staff sent me a script. And so he got his start in public service in education, which led him to a position with the American Federation Teachers of Oregon, where he spent a decade advocating for Oregon's teachers, faculty support staff, and healthcare workers. He's a father of 4, and his wife, Lori, an Emerge Oregon grad, yes, likes to remind him that she represents more constituents as the chair of Portland Community College than he does. And he has held just about every position somebody can hold in the legislature, intern, legislative staff, lobbyist, state senator, and as of the last 10 months, Oregon State President, or Oregon State Senate President, excuse me. Sorry about that. And along the way, he was also a member of the Lake Oswego School Board. And as Senate, forget it, I'm riffing. So I have not been able to figure out how to eliminate the Google alert that I've had for 4 years on Tim Knopp. And so I've had a fun inbox for all of Rob's tenure as Senate President. And every morning I get greeted by dysfunction. But not only that, by reports of obscene disrespect and personal attacks on our Senate President. And you met disrespect with respect. And you met dysfunction with teamwork. And you met their cowardice with courage. And despite the longest walkout in Oregon history, you and your team got our priorities, our democratic priorities, through the legislature and into law. And I have great faith that the Oregon State Senate or the Oregon, State Supreme Court is going to tell that certain gentleman from Central Oregon to sit down and respect the will of the voters. But I promise you that if they don't, the Deschutes Dems sure as hell will. So I cannot wait to hear from this man of patience and courage and a hell of a good negotiator. Please welcome to the podium our Senate President, Rob Wagner.
Well, after Travis's introduction, I was expecting play on music, something by Donna Summers or maybe Cher. I did want to say to my good friend and the speaker that this is being recorded, so Adam will be watching this on replay, and I have a feeling there'll probably be some fun family conversations about you and maybe some different clothing that you might be wearing. I also want to say to Dan Torres, I'm just going to speak straight to the camera, who was my intern. I actually paid you, unlike when you were working on that 2010 campaign down in Corvallis. And I don't remember the vote margin then, but I'm glad to hear that this one was a lot better this year. All I'm going to do is just completely roast this man. Before Senator Steiner walked in, I saw former City Councilor Goodman here. It was nice to hear Matt Keating announce that the speaker is going to be running for state treasurer. Congratulations! That was really to have that announcement. That was wonderful. I didn't know that. And in fact, after your work and the numbers that you were giving, I wasn't sure if it was state treasurer or trying out for the count on Sesame Street. One state house member. Blah, No, but I do want to say that it is going to be hard for me because we've enjoyed having the opportunity to have the Sunday morning together, which is always the best time slot. Thank you, Rosa, to have the opportunity to address the Breakfast Club, as I like to say, the insomniacs and those who still haven't gone to bed. So, yeah, there they are. Yeah, but just closing on Speaker Rayfield before I do want to get into my remarks. This session, I would say that, because he wasn't allowed to talk about his upcoming job, but I would really give our session an A, and G, it was fun getting a chance to work with you. Dan is an attorney with beyond general knowledge. As my colleagues know, I'm a walking dad joke, so no, but I'm gonna miss you, and you're gonna be fantastic. I do look forward. I will be up at the next summit on the Saturday morning when you're sharing that stage. So, well, this weekend we've heard over and over about legislative accomplishments and the challenges on cue. And it takes hard work. First, by all of you in supporting our campaigns, and then the grit and the patience and the sacrifice of our colleagues. Partnering with our House colleagues, we have the hardest working group of elected state legislators in the country. Can we give it up for the senators and representatives who represent you in the Oregon State Legislature? And just as a little bit, a window into some of the work that our members who are in this room today, I want to give some shout outs. A shout out to State Senator Sarah Gelser Bluen, who passed landmark, nationally recognized legislation to ensure that children with developmental disabilities have access to a full day of in-person school. Thank you, Senator. Making sure I'm not missing Senator Taylor. Okay. Senator Lou Frederick, where are you, sir? So there he is. Since his childhood in Atlanta, he has served with distinction in the Oregon legislature, in the House and the Senate. He is a champion for social justice. And this past legislative session, I don't think he will ever forgive me. He served on 8 committees. 8 committees. I'm sure Senator Lieber's like, are you trying to kill the man? Let's talk about the Senate President Pro Tem Sergeant Major James Ivory Manning, Jr. The unstoppable efforts passing legislation that puts Oregon on a pathway to universal health care coverage because he knows health care is a fundamental human right. Senator Doctor, if you don't know, she's a doctor. Elizabeth Steiner, the budget wizard, carefully curating a total funds budget of $120 billion, making strategic investments that better the lives and the families across the state of Oregon. Thank you, Senator. Where's my good friend, Senator Mark Meek? There he is. The work that you did, taking the gavel with revenue and partnering with Senator Solomon, is creating 1,000 new construction jobs, union construction jobs, and a sustained level of over 6,000 new jobs in the electronics manufacturing industry in Oregon. Thank you, Senator. And I believe I saw State Senator Deb Patterson in the room this morning. There she is. Yeah. People don't know she's all soft-spoken and she's like a pastor and all this stuff. But she's a badass. So, yeah, she took the healthcare gavel, and she is just one example. Is a relentless champion for lowering costs for prescription drugs for every senior and every family. Thank you, Senator. And finally, as she told me this morning, I have to be careful in the tone that I'm using. There might have been some late night shenanigans here. Your state Senate Majority Leader, Kate Lieber. She does it all. The environment, mental and behavioral health, abortion, and gender-affirming care. And I have to say nice words about her because just the last few weeks, Dan and I established our new joint committee, and she is leading on solving and taking the lead on the drug crisis that is ripping through our state. Senator, thank you. Now, as we heard last night, we should be celebrating our wins. But this is damn hard work. And there is always another problem to be solved, another crisis that needs leadership, and man, it can be exhausting. So one of the ways that my wife Lori and I like to recharge our batteries is by getting outside with our kids and exploring the beauty of this state by hiking. From Oceanside to the Wallowa Mountains, from Mount Hood to Mount Ashland. And I'll give you just one example, short example. My son Zach and I have spent the past few years, just a few days every summer, hiking the Oregon section of the Pacific Crest Trail. The PCT in Oregon is 455 miles of stunning vistas, ice-cold lakes, firs, and pines, and sage. The trail runs from Cascade Locks through Timberline past Mount Jefferson and the Three Sisters, south to Crater Lake and the Siskiyous. And Zach and I have done about 200 miles of it so far. But we're out there every summer, putting one foot in front of the other, hiking from the mountaintop ridge to the verdant valley, and it just makes you feel alive, and it makes you feel a connection and a deep love for Oregon again. And as Oregon Democrats, everyone in this room, and especially my colleagues, we are walking that trail together. We put one foot in front of the other, blistering toes, aching knees, aiming for a better horizon, knowing full well there may be treacherous and difficult days ahead. But we wake with the sun and we keep walking, passing laws and budgets that benefit families in our communities. We keep walking that trail to support our students and our teachers in early learning, in K-12, in higher education, because all of our kids deserve an education that gives them the best chance to succeed in life. We keep walking that trail for a stronger democracy, leading the nation in voter access and participation. A democracy where everyone has an opportunity to vote, that sacred suffrage is respected and protected. You can applaud that. We keep walking that trail for a stronger Oregon where abortion is not restricted by radical politicians, where gender-affirming care is available for everyone, where our veterans and seniors get the medical care they deserve. We keep walking that trail so that every Oregon family has access to affordable housing, affordable childcare, and is safe from the epidemic of gun violence. And finally, we keep walking that trail because we know it's the only way to reach the summit where every Oregon family has their opportunity to thrive. And we remain united as Democrats. Your House and your Senate and your governor are leading on these issues and confronting these crises by acting on our responsibility that you have afforded us the distinct honor to be able to serve. So I want to say deeply, thank you for the opportunity to be able to serve alongside these incredible individuals. Now, a little bit about our challenge this session. I'll just close on this. There have been 8 Republican walkouts in the past 5 legislative sessions. And on that trail to progress, sometimes you have a landslide that is blocking your path. And you can go back, or you can go around, or you can make your way through. In this session for 6 weeks, the Republicans in the Oregon State Senate threatened to kill hundreds of bills unless Democrats trashed valuable priorities that we've heard all weekend on affirming the right to an abortion in Oregon State statute, expanding access to gender-affirming care, and protecting our communities from gun violence. In Oregon history, it was unprecedented, it was unconstitutional, and it was anti-democratic. But with you at our side, with the wind in our sails, our Democratic senators refused to capitulate. We refused to give in. We refused to turn back. They pushed a minority veto, and we said no. So finally, for Democrats, this was a difficult section of the trail, on the edge of a cliff with the ground slipping away, but we kept putting one foot in front of the other, roping ourselves together to make sure no one fell. No one was left behind. And with your work, we can look back and see how far we've climbed out of that valley and where we're going. My friends, let's keep hiking toward a brighter future together. Thank you, Democrats.
Thank you, Senator. My name is Kim Smith. You've seen me a couple of times. I'm vice chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon, which is exciting because I also serve as the rural caucus chair. And actually, it's a delight to serve with Rosa and come from two directions. I just want to say, not on the script, sorry, Rosa, I know we're late. So many of us who are Dems, who work very, very hard in rural Oregon, we do not have a Democratic senator. We do not have a Democratic representative. And those of us in CD2 and similar, we do not have someone in Congress who is representing us and speaking to our needs. So when we come to something like this, and we understand the fight that you are doing for each and every one of us in our state, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to every single one of you. Yeah. Because sometimes we need the little perks, trust me. Oh, I thought for a second I had deleted what I had ready to go here. So, David, the recipient of the Rural Organizing Award took a slightly unusual path to get here. David Sowers joined the Neighbor Leader Program in 2017, while he was a non-affiliated voter, no less. He was seeking some way to respond to the chaos and trauma of Donald Trump. The idea of adopting his neighborhood and having conversations with like-minded voters had tremendous appeal. He began to do the behind-the-scenes task for the local NLP organizing committee, and when the chair of the committee was diagnosed with cancer in 2020, you stepped up. He joined the Democratic Party so he could become a PCP, and soon after, he was the NLP chair. He found himself more and more drawn to helping his local party be more competitive in a mostly red county. And in January of this last year, 2023, he was elected chair of the Jefferson County Democrats. Yeah. David is someone I can always lean on, who has the respect of his peers and is changing the dynamic for Dems in Jackson County. It is an honor to award you the Rural Organizing Award, David. There you go. Thank you very much. Yep.
Boy, it's unusual for me to raise this. I'm usually putting it down. It's just a little bit, but not that that matters. Thank you, Kim. On behalf of our volunteers in the Jackson County Democratic Party, I'm honored to accept this award. As Kim told you, Jackson County began implementing the NLP model in 2017. Our first test was January of the following year, a special election for Measure 101, extending Medicaid in Oregon. Jackson County voted for the expansion, which gave us a surge of pride. We went on to help Jeff Golden win a tight Senate race later that year, and some of that big money coming in from out of state last year was to target him, and we helped him win a tight race again in 2022. In the special district election this past spring, our turnout was 10% higher than the GOP, which has 6,000 more registered voters than we do. All of our school board candidates won, all of theirs lost. But we've had plenty of disappointments, too. We haven't elected a Democratic commissioner since 2006. The GOP dominates most of the legislative districts in our region, and sometimes we don't even have Democrats running for city council or school boards. I'm convinced we can do something about that, but it's going to take some time.
And since I'm not going to become a master gardener or learn how to play the guitar in my retirement, I have the time now. Okay. I don't see this as an award, though, for past accomplishments. I see it as recognition that Democrats in rural counties face some unique challenges. And Dr. Colquitt, we feel your presence in Jackson County, and it makes a difference. Members of the DPO Rural Caucus, and Kim Smith, we get inspiration from our conversations in this group. Thank you. And to the DPO leadership and staff, thank you for working to mitigate the geographic and financial obstacles to participation in events like this. Please keep that up, please. Working together, each of us can look forward to do as our governor urged on Friday, wake up every day and remind ourselves this is worth doing. This award is a recognition of every Democrat who volunteers their time and finds it worth doing even when things are tough. Thank you.
So, David, it comes back down a little bit. Thank you so much, Kim, for that recognition, and congratulations, David. I am so happy this morning about this award. As vice chair of the DPO, I served as a liaison to Jackson County, and it was work, and I enjoyed it. But it was work getting them more involved in our SCC meetings and more involved in our neighborhood leader program. And then today, to stand here and see you as chair of that party take the Rural Organizing Award is just fabulous. Please give him another hand. Thank you, Speaker Rayfield, for your talk. I enjoyed it. I like numbers. I'm wonky at times. And thank you so much for recognizing your peers and giving Oregon the model, an exemplary model of what teamwork looks like and the results that that type of teamwork can yield. Thank you, Senate President Wagner, for giving us your report, recognizing and honoring your Senate colleagues. And I want to remind you of something, Mr. Senate President. Years ago, I was hosting a Black Leadership Summit, trying to build Black leadership in Oregon, and I invited a lot of people, and you showed up. You and your beautiful wife showed up, and you encouraged us and inspired us. You, sir, walk your talk. Thank you. So, and I also want to thank all of you for being here this morning. The early birds that got up, I got up by accident. Somebody called me too early. But thank all of you who came and wanted to spend this morning. What a wonderful legislative update. They did not fall down on that. They followed in the pattern of our congressional electeds, our statewide electeds. Thank you for that legislative update. Now, just a couple of notes. We're a couple of minutes behind, but that's okay. We're going to be fine. A couple of notes. Please donate your lanyards back to the party. There's some specially marked boxes when you're leaving the summit today. We do need to get these back. We've bugged you all weekend about showing it everywhere, and now we're bugging you about giving it back to us. Isn't that wonderful? Also, in about 15 minutes, the final workshop panels in the summit start at 9:45 a.m. They will be held in the heritage rooms and the rooms in the homestead. Now, this is different from yesterday, so please ask a volunteer if you need any assistance. Ask a volunteer to give you some help getting where you need to be. I remind you again, we've had this beautiful time together. My heart is overflowing. We've got some innovative thinkers in these panel workshops that you've experienced all weekend. So if you can get into one of these panels, we would be honored to have you there. What you learn, please take it back into your workspace, into your caucus, into your county, wherever you are. For those who were not able to join us this weekend, you will be the pathway back to them. We'll depend on you to get information and knowledge and inspiration back to your place. So you'll have a few minutes to chat and catch up before the panels begin. I think you'll have a few minutes. We'll see you back here at 11:15 for the candidate meet and greet. You don't want to miss meeting and greeting your candidates, so please come back. You stayed all this time. Stick with us until the end. We need you, we honor you, and we love you. Thank you so much, proud Democrats.
So folks, these panels are chaired by